So sick of fighting for this. The more that I let you win, you win. I'm sick of standing on pins. I think I'm gonna give in. I'm sick of feeling so sick, so sick. The more that I fight, the noise in my life, the more I fight, the worse the start in the fire. I wanna survive, I wanna ignite, but I'm still resting on the edge of my night, begging for a sign of gravity, hoping for a change beneath my feet. Come show me, just show me my remedy. So show me how to forgive, or show me how to forget the words that you love to spit. I'm sick of fighting for grip. I know I'm gonna give in because it makes me so sick, so sick, so sick. The more that I fight, the noise in my life, the more I fight, the worse the start in the fire. I wanna survive, I wanna ignite, but I'm still resting on the edge of my night, begging for a sign of gravity, hoping for a change beneath my feet. Come show me, just show me my remedy. The more and more that you speak, I think we're sanity down, down, down to the bottom. The more and more that you speak, I think we're sanity down, down, down to the bottom. I'm sick of standing on pins. I think I'm gonna give in. I'm sick of feeling so sick, so sick, so sick. The more and more that you speak, down, down, down to the bottom. The more and more that you speak, I think we're sanity down, down, down to the bottom. So show me how to forgive, or show me how to forget the words that you love to spit. I'm sick of fighting for grip. I know I'm gonna give in because it makes me so sick, so sick. The more that I fight, the noise in my life, the more I fight, the worse the start in the fire. I wanna survive, I wanna ignite, but I'm still resting on the edge of my night, begging for a sign of gravity, hoping for a change beneath my feet. Come show me, just show me my remedy.
Test of emergency alert system capabilities. This test message has been initiated by National Alert and Warning Authority in coordination with emergency alert system participants, including broadcast, cable, satellite, and wireline participants in your area. We now return you to regular programming.
Another day, another broken plan. Feels like the world is slipping through my hands. I think I'm losing control. Can't seem to find my way home. I sat and watched my only map turn itself into stone. I'm hoping I can find the silver lining. yourself from all the madness in your undertones. I'm hoping I can find the silver lining. Transmission, but you're not replying. We're losing signal over the horizon. We're screaming over radio silence. I think we're breaking up. I think we're breaking up.
From the drop of the green flag at Daytona Beach, the Stars return to 6 different winners and 8 races in the regular season. But tonight is the one night where the worries aren't the playoffs, the title hopes, or the points, but rather bragging rights and the competitive spirit of the studded field. Live from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway, we welcome you to Podium eSports' coverage of the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race in Season 4 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy. Ready to get it all started, and we are happy to have you with us. We're alongside Joshua Lee and Jacob Pitts. My name is Kenneth Buena. We'll have Taylor Burris on pit road all night long with Ryan Bauer producing the shots using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And Josh, this race, I mean, amongst all the points, amongst the regular season races where drivers have been on it all the time, very demanding schedule, we get to kind of take a little intermission where tonight, it's not about the wins, it's not about what's going to happen in the playoffs, but it's all about fun. That's what all-star races are meant to be.
Oh, and when you describe fun, of course, you have to describe one of the wildest car track combos in all of the sim. And all the fans voted hashtag orange citrus is what everybody chose. Indy cars at Talladega, spaceships on wheels. This is going to be exciting.
It is definitely going to be exciting. And Jacob, I mean, among the 10 choices that were given to the fans for the Rowdy Energy fan vote, this is the one that won by a landslide. And this is not one that is new necessarily to the driver or to the drivers of MNR. It's most necessarily one that showed up in regular season competition a couple of seasons back, but now it's for the All-Star race. But nonetheless, this is an insane combo to race and an insane combo to watch as well.
Yeah, Kenneth, these guys are going to be running more than 240 miles an hour around this racetrack. That's faster than they go around Indianapolis. They are flat out pretty much all the way around the track. Like Josh said, these are rocket ships on wheels, basically, and the margin for error here is basically nothing. You make a mistake, these guys are typically on top of each other. You're going to take a lot of cars with you if you cause any sort of trouble up at the front.
We'll see exactly how those drivers will fare on the starting grid. Right now, you're looking at what is group qualifying at this point on track. This is a first time for MNR. We usually see drivers end up single car qualifying, so they go by themselves 2 laps, usually 5 minutes. But around this 2.66 mile racetrack, Josh, you have group qualifying, which means we're seeing some crashes, but we're seeing a lot of drafts, and that could manipulate sort of the times that we're seeing when it comes down to which driver set the fastest time on the leaderboard and who wants to be up front in this all-star race. That may be pivotal when it comes down to what's going to be the format for this race also.
Yeah, of course, if you can survive around this track running a lap, then if you're in the draft having a good slipstream from the drivers in front of you, you're bound to run a very, very fast lap. We're already seeing a handful of times go up to the top of the board, then new times come up, then new times come back up to the top. So we're seeing a lot of playing around at the top right now. It's Cabot, Ford Martin, Preston Pardis, Gary Sexton, and Presley Sora who sit at the top right now, with Hale, Bickford, Kennan, Massey, and Kallenbach rounding out the rest of the top 10. And with only a minute left, these drivers are going to need to get their times going in now if they want a better time. A draft is required in these open qualifying sessions because you need that draft to go faster. It's the same thing like what we saw a couple of years ago in the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity, and Truck Series when they ran group qualifying at Daytona and Talladega. It was a game of chicken to not go out first onto the racetrack. You need a draft to be quick at this track.
In Indy cars, we ran this before, obviously, between it at Talladega and, of course, it at Indianapolis that we had in the most recent season where Adam Cabot, who won last week at the Xfinity combo with Chicagoland Speedway, is going to try and win once again in an Indy car, try to go undefeated within the past 2 seasons within his entrance in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. But, Jacob, I mean, you look at sort of the way these Indy cars are and the way they handle naturally. They're very twitchy. They're not sort of accustomed to what we are used to seeing with the drivers going in, let's say, Xfinity Series cars, Cup Series cars, NASCAR trucks, a lot of the heavier cars. This car is very light. This car is very quick. And instead of going, let's say, upwards of 200 miles per hour, you're going 230 plus going into either corner in the draft.
Well, in that pack you just saw, Kenneth, they were running 4 wide in qualifying. If they're doing that now, by the time we drop this green flag, they're going to be all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see what these guys pull off. But man, oh man, if it's this wild in qualifying, that's just setting the stage for what we're going to see the rest of the night.
And tonight's going to be a long one. It's going to be 80 laps here tonight from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. But we will have a very interesting format for this all-star event. Last season, we had just a normal start-to-finish race. But tonight, we will have a format that will cut the field at lap 65 of 80. So by the time we get to lap 65, the top 12 will be the last drivers remaining. Everybody 13th on back will be eliminated from competition. And that top 12 will enter a 10-lap dash for the finish and $175. That's a prize for tonight's Rowdy Energy All-Star Race. We have a total of 3 green, white, checkered attempts if we cannot end this race under green. And of course, this race goes for 212.8 miles, 342.5 kilometers using the Dallara IR18 IndyCar, which means speeds are high, the intensity is higher, and the reaction times have to be very, very slim. Let's take a look overhead and see exactly where we are in the virtual world using our track map with images courtesy of Google Earth. And Josh, this is a track that is somewhat regarded as a temple of speed in stock car racing, a very large oval. It seems simple. Put your foot to the floor and go at it. This is a very notorious track for super speedway racing, large crashes, and very intense finishes.
They wanted to make a larger track than Daytona, and they definitely succeeded. And to sell more seats down by turn number 1, they just moved the start-finish line down by turn number 1. It is outside of the tri-oval. We've seen that come into play before, Kenneth, in the real world. We've seen it come into play in the sim. Big question is, will we see that come into play tonight with the top 12 being left on the racetrack for the final dash to the finish? Will we see not only a last lap pass, but maybe a last tri-oval pass coming to the line for the win?
Gonna give you the extra couple 100 feet to get all the way to that start finish line. And we've seen just how it's been implemented in the NASCAR side. It's gonna be crazy on the IndyCar side as well. Tonight is not gonna be about points. It's not gonna be about the playoffs, but this is exactly what you're gonna see come next week when we stay at this very racetrack and bring the NASCAR Truck Series machines to Talladega Super Speedway. David Schildhouse tops the leaderboard in the playoff standings. Colin Fern, Adam Cabot, Kyle Busch among the drivers that are locked in, including Ryan Vargas, Josh Bilicki. Ro Rogers was one of the drivers that pointed his way in and clinched his way in by that method. Max Kennan, Preston Pardis, and Raja Caruth were the last 3 drivers to enter in last week with the Xfinity cars at Chicagoland Speedway. They're kind of behind the 8 ball as it speaks, Jacob Hits, when it comes down to next week. They're not going to be worried about tonight because this race has no impact on it, but this may be some note-taking opportunities at the same track.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And you see Raja there at the bottom of the leaderboard. Remember, he had to scrap and claw his way in. At the end of last week's race, he was able to get in on points. But this is a chance, I mean, with this combination, I would hope so. It's a chance for everybody to just kind of put the points aside for a week, take a breath, kind of forget about the points like you mentioned. Just go out, have a good time, try and put on a good show, try and win some money at the end of this deal. Since that's really all that's on the line, then after tonight, you can kind to start focusing and getting that game plan for next week when we come back to Talladega in the trucks for that first race of the round of 10.
I mean, the competitive spirit is definitely not going to go away, though, because the money is there. There's something still at stake when it comes to winning this race. And last season, Josh, we saw Radicals in Texas, drivers going hard. It didn't seem like the All-Star race was going to be one where drivers are going to be super competitive. We're going to try a lot to get to the win, but they did, and they did so in fantastic fashion. So tonight, with the $175 at stake for the checkered flag holder, maybe the competitive spirit isn't quite gone, and they're just using it to maybe warm up to the playoffs, maybe?
That could be, but also one thing that we need to talk about in the difference between last year's All-Star race and this one, Radicals versus Indy cars. You can't touch each other in these Indy cars. Radicals, you can at least bump into each other a little bit. They've got a little bit of fenders on the side. You can, you know, bang doors enough, but here in these Indy cars, they are fragile. You could easily get front wing. You can easily get damage on the wheels. You can easily get damage to the back of the spoiler as well. There are a lot of ways to damage these race cars. So something very, very crucial that these drivers need to focus on is not running into anybody. You need to be incredibly safe when it comes to these cars, basically trying to play chess and be inches away from each other without making contact at over 240 miles an hour. Sounds easy, right?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I as a sim racer, I don't think I can do this combo, but with these guys on the track, it certainly is going to be a lot of fun. And I figure we're probably going to see very close margins when it comes down to the start-finish line, especially when drivers want to survive for lap 65 for that 10-lap dash. They want to make it all the way to the end. They want to do the best that they can to take that checker flag away and hold the bragging rights for a whole one season and go for season 5 with all of that on tap. We'll take it, though, trackside, where we have our full starting grid here with the Beef Jerky Unlimited Pole Award going to Adam Cabot in the 17. The winner from last week at Chicagoland will try and defend, go 2 in a row technically, with Ford Martin, league owner for Crypto Motorsport, on his outside. Preston Parters for Space Station Gaming will line at the inside of row 2 with Battle Beaver Machine. Gary Sexton in the 13 on his outside in P4. Brandon Brown in the SimSeats IndyCar will line at the top 5. Presley Sora, one of the entrants from the Road to Glory series, will make his first appearance in the All-Star race. William Hale, also one of those drivers, he'll line at the inside of row 4, and Charlotte Phoenix's James Bickford will be to his outside. Final drivers to line at the top 10 include Max Kennan in the 21 and Brad Perez in the 60 machine.
Michael Massey is going to get started the next group of 10 in P11. Case Kallenbach will start P12 in that JD Motorsports number 84. Jason Keffer and TJ Majors are going to share row number 7. Back from there, starting in row number 8, Will Rogers to the inside for Space Station Gaming, and Mark Rabiles for Crypto Autosport in the number 99 to his outside. Garrett Miller and Brian Cook are going to share the 9th row of action, with row number 10 having the number 1 machine of Joshua Slate, with Seth Eggert rounding out the top 20.
Our very own Devin Henry lines up in P21 with Luke Nupp to his outside. David Schulthouse, the championship points leader as of this moment. Points don't matter tonight, though. He lines up P23. Cole Irvin, the pitcher, lines up to his outside to cap off row 12. Then you've got Steve Affont and Drew Welker, 25th and 26th. Anthony Alfredo and Justin Malillo make up row number 14. Raja Karuth, our in-race reporter Ron Capps, make up row 15. And then our last two, Nick Olson and Brett Baldeck.
Say Nick Olson and Brett Baldeck did not take time, so they will have to work up the rear here tonight in this Rowdy Energy All-Star race. Let's have a moment to talk with our Fox Sports app in-race reporter. It'll be the 2-time NHRA Funny Car champion, Ron Capps. So bring him in. And Ron, I know that you have experience going upwards of 300 miles per hour, but to go 230 with the Indy cars at Talladega, very tough task, but surely it's going to be a lot of fun, at least from your perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the cool thing about iRacing, and especially Monday Night Racing, is getting to choose this car at this track for an all-star race. And yeah, I'm used to going 330 plus, but this has got my knees shaking right now.
And of course, it's going to be kind of trembling when it comes down to the final laps of this race, because lap 65 is going to be the benchmark, where the top 12 is going to be the last people standing in order to get to the finish. So for you, are you going to try and keep sort of a conservative approach to stay at the back, or maybe be aggressive and go to the front? Or what do you have up your sleeve that's going to get you to lap 65 in that top 12?
Well, I actually had my brake pedal was sticking when I got in here for warm-ups and qualifying, so I got that all ironed out just in time. But I'm kind of hanging back. I'm going to hang back and just let all the action happen a little ways and see if I can stay out of it and get around it and cross my fingers.
Well, wish you the best of luck, Ron. Of course, it's going to be a very interesting one. Wishing you the best of luck from the middle of the field. Good luck out there.
Thanks, guys.
That's Ron Capps, our Fox Sports app in-race reporter. We'll see if we can dial him in from here on to the rest of this race. Pace car has made its way down to the entrance of pit road. It's a long entrance into the start-finish line, that little chute between the exit of the tri-oval and the entrance of turn 1. Barney the flag man has the big green egg, green flag in hand. Adam Cabot, Ford Martin, your first row as we go all-star racing in the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race from Talladega. A quick change of hands for the race lead, but it is Preston Pardis making the move all the way to go for the race lead, and they're already 3 wide. Look at Will Rogers make that machine work up to that third lane. He's got some help from Gary Sexton in the 13, and just like we expected, Josh Lee, 3 wide, maybe 4 wide, going back into turn 3, only on the first lap.
3 wide very quickly, and those drivers in the middle. Preston Pardis is currently in the middle right now. The 12 of Brandon Brown, you're on board with William Hale, who sits middle 3 wide as well. They gotta be careful as one driver behind him tries to get to the outside line. Doesn't have room. He'll duck right back into the middle as they go across the line again. Over onto lap number 3. They're already getting aggressive up here at the front. Kenneth, and talking pre-race, Ford Martin said, hey guys, let's just try and focus on making it all of these laps because it is a long race, 81 laps, and of course we're going to cut 13th on back at lap number 65. That is still a long ways to go, so we're going to see how long these drivers can run under green, and right now they're running aggressive but also doing it cleanly. Still no incidents on the racetrack.
Aggressive being the name of the game so far with the format here, Jacob Pitts. We have no yellow line rule. You saw a couple of drivers, including Max Kennan, work to the inside underneath that yellow line. You can make some room there. You just have to be able to make the corner back into turn 1 or turn 3 without getting into anybody else. And so far, it seems to be a dead even battle between the 21 and the 42. Here's onboard look with Gary Sexton, the Battle Beaver, still our IR18. There's a look from his sim rig as he works that outside. And one thing also, Jacob, about these Indy cars is that you can't really touch, that Joshua mentioned earlier on in tonight's show. With these cars being as delicate as they are, you cannot give a little bit of a shove. You can't make a bit of contact because your wing is going to start to fly, and that handling of the race car is going to start to shoot all over the place. You don't want that.
Yeah, you touching these things, you're wrecking. You can't save it. Wings are going to fly off. You have a chance you're going to lose tires with this new damage model. You just cannot touch in these race cars. And I tell you what, on the first lap, 4 wide for the lead on the back straightaway, my jaw hit the floor, and it hasn't gotten off the floor since. These guys are driving like there's 5 laps to go, and we're not even 5 laps into this darn thing.
Here's a look from Cole Irvin, the Oakland Athletics pitcher in the MLB, working the inside here. And of course, not much space to go apart from that double yellow line. But at this point of the race, Josh, he wants to keep himself conservative. And I mean, we mentioned just getting all the way to lap 65. That's going to be the goal for these guys. And you want to position yourself in a place where you're either right there in the top 12 or at least not too far away from the top 12 as well. So there's going to be some positioning changes and maybe some relaxed approaches early on to make sure they can just get to the end. They don't want to be stuck in the hornet's nest and get put into the big one that we see usually at Talladega as you're right on board with Brandon Brown working the middle.
Well, they really need to just be safe going up until lap number 65. Yes, you can be in the top 12 now. No guarantee you'll be in the top 12 at lap number 65. So we're seeing a good amount of drivers fall to the back as you see the nervousness on the face of Brandon Brown as he was middle 3 wide for a good bit for the last couple of laps. He's going to clear the drivers on the outside line now that's running up by the wall. We're on board with Will Rogers, who is spearheading that line up by the wall right now as they will race back to the back straight away. These cars are already tough to handle when it comes to normal road courses, street courses, or the normal Indianapolis Oval that these cars are most famously known for. They're even harder to control when you have all the dirty air, all the aerodynamic waste that is being pushed off of these Indy cars. Once you get middle of the pack or further back in the pack, it becomes very difficult to hang on to these things, especially as they go through the trioval right now. 237 miles an hour as Preston Pardis crosses the line.
They're still even for the lead. No convincing decider as they still try to make that third line switch. And they had an extra car join up there as well. Zero out on board. This is William Hamilton.
We got off turn 2.
Couple drivers wrecking off turn 2. And I was about to mention how there wasn't really a challenge for the rear drivers as they were more spread out than the main field. But we have our first caution on lap 8 of 81. We've seen a couple of drivers with severe damage. But as for the moment, everybody will slow down, everybody will take a breath, and we'll try and regroup ourselves in the beginning of this Rowdy Energy All-Star race. Here's a look. It seems as though Brad Perez is one of the drivers involved. And I believe somebody just hit the outside wall there, Josh. Not much for anybody to go. I think maybe they got turned, or maybe they just had an entrance into the wall as well, into that safer barrier. Looks like Gary Sexton may have had some damage as well. Here's a look from Perez, and there it is. It looks like Gary up at the top in that third line has some trouble, maybe some contact, and into the wall he went. His wheels all over the place.
Yes, Sexton got hit from below him. I'm not sure who that driver was, but there was a driver below him. There he is, the silver car, right side of your screen, comes right up, makes the tap. I believe that was the 91 who just came up. Nicole Irving came up, slammed into the 13. That sent Sexton up into the wall. Nothing he could have done at that point. Here's the onboard from the 91 machine, taking a look up the top of his roof, and just comes up a little bit, just maybe a little bit too much. He made a small correction to try and go into the middle, Kenneth, and because these things are going so fast, any small movement of the wheel is going to send it in one direction. He couldn't catch it in time.
And the car swung high as he was trying to make the middle 3 wide there. And you take another look, there's the damage to what looks like obviously the 13 of Gary Sexton. He's got a wheel off, and we do have 2 faster pairs to these drivers, so they will have the opportunity to get a clean Dallara IR18 before this race is over. They got 2 opportunities to do so. For the moment, we have drivers on pit road. Taylor Burris, our pit road reporter, what you got if the lead comes down here, or the leaders come down here for lap 9?
Pretty much everybody but one driver has come down pit road. We see Max Kennedy. There's a couple of more cars who also decide to stay out. But as we watch the drivers enter their pit box, it'll be about a 6-second pit box as one driver misses his pit stall, has to then re-exit onto the circuit. As we see the field, the race off of pit road, give it to Max Kennedy in that number 21 who will take that win off of pit road. The field, however, noticing a couple of drivers utilizing a little bit of fuel-saving strategies by utilizing the draft, not putting too much pressure on that throttle to try to keep the slipstream going for them and save a little fuel. And also the good thing with these Dallara IR18s is under caution and even in race conditions, you can make adjustments in car to where you could save even a little bit more fuel if need be, and maybe good strategy calls for later in the race.
Some potential strategies there for drivers to get to the end. Lap 65, potentially. That's going to be the goal for many of the competitors here as we have our first caution here in the first 10 laps of this Rowdy Energy All-Star Race, which is, of course, presented to us by Rowdy Energy. 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch and beverage entrepreneur Jeff Church have collaborated to develop Rowdy Energy, the proprietary enhanced energy formula consisting of time-released caffeine, sugar reduction ingredients, amazing taste, and hydration levels above leading sports drinks. Rowdy Energy is a cleaner, smarter energy drink. Visit rowdyenergy.com to place your order today. We've seen a lot of drivers, we've seen a lot of fans rep the Rowdy Energy brand, most notably Traction.gg's Justin Mallow. We call him the Rowdy Man over the course of the season. We saw him sip a Rowdy Energy can, Josh Lee at Daytona in the middle of the pack. We saw him obviously sip some more later on in the season. There he is, and he's got the Rowdy shirt on. There he is looking forward to what's going to be the restart here, and there's a bunch of cans of Rowdy Energy. You can tell just how supportive he's been to the brand. It's been great watching his camera all season long.
And you love to see it. Rowdy Energy is a fantastic sponsor, excuse me, for Monday Night Racing and Justin Malillo really playing into that, and great to see all of the love for Rowdy Energy, love for the sponsor, and love Justin Malillo has for this series. He is one of the leading media personnel when it comes to eNASCAR and the Road to Pro ladder, and he is fantastic at everything he does over at Traction.gg, and a fantastic racer as well. We'll see if he runs up front later in this race.
Be a lot of work to do nonetheless to get into this top 12. We have extended the yellow flag, so we will wait an extra lap or so to get us back under green flag racing. I think the field was maybe a little bit too spread out. Maybe there was an incident near the rear of the field. A couple of drivers obviously had hit pit road and made some split decisions, so it is going to be sort of a re-racking effort here, Jacob. But nonetheless, I mean, from what you've seen over the first 11 laps, I think not unexpected as to what we were kind of going to see here in this IndyCar race, in this all-star race. But what have you seen that has definitely caught your eye when it comes down to either drivers positioning themselves or maybe battling up front? What have you seen so far that's been most interesting to you?
Well, I thought Taylor made a really good point when we had his hit about the adjustments that these guys can make in the race cars. And that's something we didn't talk about really in pre-race, that, you know, these cars are a handful. They're really twitchy, especially at high speeds. But the good thing with these guys is that they can play around with some settings inside the race car while they're driving to make these things a little bit better. So whether they're out in front, they can make some adjustments to make the car handle better out in front. If they fall back and they get into traffic, they can make some adjustments to make it better in the draft. And I think that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on with these guys throughout the race, because if you forget to do that, yeah, that could put you in the wall if the car doesn't turn, if you forgot to make a settings change. But through these after the first lap, things seemed to settle down a little bit. They were still 3 wide, but we still weren't seeing people get down on the apron or anything. And I think that's going to hang around a little bit until we get closer and closer to about 15 to go, 10 to go, whenever that cutoff is, or we chop most of the field away. That's when that intensity is going to pick up, because you're going to have guys fighting for every spot they can get to get into that top 12.
We saw a move underneath the apron to take the lead away. Max Kennan was the driver to do it on the opening lap of the race. Maybe we have another one here on this next restart. Pace car will make the left down to the entrance of pit road around that Yellowwood sign. And we will have 2 drivers up at the front, Presley Sora and Luke Knupp, the 2 Road to Glory drivers, making their first starts in the Monday Night Racing Pro field. In the All-Star race that will head their way off of the tri-oval, we'll have the big green egg, green flag back into action. Presley Sora working the inside, got some help. Back to turn 1, he's clear for the moment, and already a pass underneath.
He's going to go all the way under the yellow line. He's going to lose a ton of time, however. He tried to come back up, had a car there, they're wrecking again. Middle of the pack, multiple drivers going around. Adam Cabot's involved, multiple others. It's one of the big ones at Talladega, as it looks like 5-6 drivers involved. Caution flag will refly on the racetrack.
Everybody trying to go up through the gears, and it results in an incident. Looks like Adam Cabot, the winner last week, involved. There he is up at the top side. Looks like Max Kennan tried to work the middle, and there was a big check up there, Jacob. Everybody was trying to find out where they were going to be, and then right there, it looks like the apron tag, and Cabot tries to go down and slams into another car and gets into the Sim Seats machine. I believe that's Brandon Brown that got into it. Looks like Raja Karuth in the Market Rebellion car gets spun into it as well. It was a huge checkup, and I don't think anybody really knew what was going to happen, but everybody swerved, and then the contact is made, and then around everybody went.
Case Kellenbach involved in this one. TJ Majors involved in this one. You've got a good half a dozen, maybe even a dozen race cars involved in this, just trying to avoid themselves. After the crash, they were making contact good quarter way down the back straightaway. But yeah, Adam Cabot just kind of turned down the racetrack, lost it a little bit in the draft on those heat cycle tires. I don't believe he pitted before that restart, and then calamity ensued coming off turn number 2, and that is a good half dozen race cars torn up, and really, I think unnecessarily. I don't think they needed to be that aggressive this early on the restart, but mistakes happen, and these guys do have 2 faster pairs, so most of them are going to have to use one right here.
That's the saving grace nonetheless, I think, Jacob, for those drivers, that if they get into something like this, got the faster pairs, they can go down pit road, get it all fixed. The drivers who were up from 1st to 6th place, from Luke Knupp to Cole Urban, they were the ones who stayed out. But it looks like many of the leaders here are going to head back down pit road. So we will have yet again another split. We'll have another change for the race lead, this time happening under caution instead of happening under green. And that's for the ones involved. They're going to be looking for that fast repair, or if not, just any sort of normal damage repair that will cost them some time out on pit road. But it is definitely going to be interesting to see how they form back out into this very large field. Let's bring in back our Fox Sports app in-race reporter. We're bringing Ron Capps of Crypto Autosport. And Ron, I know it's been only 14 laps of the 81, but what have you seen so far that's caught your eye behind the wheel that we don't have advantage of seeing from?
Well, holding your breath for 40 seconds at a time seems like the normal thing to do. It is white knuckle because there's so many 3 wides and so many crazy guys making darty passes that you're hanging on as hard as you can. So right now, I don't know why guys are pitting. Honestly, tires shouldn't be an issue, and I don't know if guys just think they have damage, but I'm kind of curious on why so many people have gone in the pit.
Nonetheless, you started back in 30th. They're going to be second here on this restart. Is there anything you're keeping an eye on for? I know you said you're going to hold your breath here, but you're going to have some drivers helping you all over the place. How are you going to try to attack this when we go back green?
Just trying to be smooth right now. I just want to get this restart, get going on tires, not spin, and just try to get a flow going on. Once you get going, the draft is so important, these things. You just don't want to get caught and left out to dry.
Well, Ron, we'll see you out in second when you get back on this restart. Wishing you the best of luck and, of course, Godspeed to this race. This is going to be a long one and going to be a lot of fun. I know behind the wheel, definitely a little bit scary, but it's still very interesting to watch nonetheless. Good luck out there.
You got it. Thanks, man.
Ron Capps, our Fox Sports app in-race supporter. He's going to be lining up second here on this next restart. We will have, again, another change for the lead. This time it's Jason Keffer in the 33 that's going to be manning us back to green. But like we've seen on the restarts, it is not guaranteed when you go to turn 1. Cole Irvin was the driver that made the inside apron pass into turn 1 that last time by. We'll see if he does it again. The extra momentum that he's got behind your race leader. Pace car makes its way down. We're ready for a restart here. Lap 15 of 81. Still a long way to go on the Rowdy Energy All-Star race, but it's Keffer and Capps, the 2 drivers on the first row, ready to take the big green egg, green flag. We're back underway from Talladega.
That's a great start from Capps on the outside. He's going to take the early lead. William Hale going to drop down right behind him in the 62. One driver not getting going on the inside. That looks to be Cole Irving. Here comes a run on the outside line. How about the 21 of Max Kennan? Not a lot of help behind, but he's going to storm around Hale. Now here comes the help. How about Bryant Cook coming right up to the back wing? And now Max Kennan's going to get pushed to the lead. 3 wide behind as aggression ensues.
Brian Boris Cook made the huge run happen in the entrance of turn 3, kind of backed up. Now he's in the middle, going to try to find a way back to the front, but it's Max Kennan up at the top of the field. Look at Rogers make it 3 wide on the apron, no help. Now it's 4 wide, almost as Cook almost made the outside there. Look at Will try to get back on the racetrack.
I think that was experimentation out of Will Rogers. See what works, see what doesn't. I don't think that's going to pay off for him if he pulls out on the last lap. I don't think he's going to have the help down there. I don't know if the apron really, on the trial, is the place where you want to go. If you're going to go to the apron, you're probably going to do it on the back straightaway, but you better do it early enough where you can clear the guy and get back in line by the time you get to turn 3.
And we're adding more drivers into the mix because, of course, Brian Boris Cook made that huge run. Ron Capps in this as well. Look at Michael Massey. Look at David Schildhaus. Now they're coming into the mix. They're trying to make something happen. And that was almost 4 wide as they exited the trial. We're back to turn 1. It is dead even. All 3 lines with the car wall. It's like Gary Sexton.
Sexton slams into the wall, and a caution flag is going to be flown as Sexton with huge damage to that Battle Beaver's number 13. I don't think he has a fast repair. He does have 1 fast repair left. Everybody has 2. He's used 1. What a run up the middle. I'm not sure who that was, but the run up the middle, slight contact with the 13 of Sexton, put Sexton into that outside wall. We'll see who that was that got the run and made that contact. But unfortunate for Gary Sexton, 2 big wrecks in a row, and he is one involved, as it's just 1 slight tap up and into the wall. These cars are so fragile, Kenneth, that you can see both of those front tires are broke on that machine.
And this is the second time, Jacob hits, that this happens to him in the exact same way. Going into 1 and 2, going straight for the back straightaway. He's running outside 3 wide. He's kept hoping it even after that first contact with Cole Urban. But the driver that goes in the middle looks to be Jason Kefren, the 33. And then, just like the first incident, around he goes based on the slight contact, and then he goes straight for the safer barrier. And that right front wheel is definitely not having a good time, to say the least.
Now we get the onboard here with Keffer, and just, you know, there's nowhere to go. He has to run. He goes up the middle because that inside line looks to be working. So he has the right idea. Let's get by Cole. Let's go to the middle. He turns in just a little bit late. I think Gary turned in a little early getting into turn 1. They kind of met in the middle, and that's what sent that 13 up into the outside wall. I think that's more just a racing deal than anything. But it's such a shame for him because he's now burned through both of his fast repairs with 17 laps complete.
It's a lot of work for Gary Sexton. His Battle Beaver machine going to work all night long to see if he can get to lap 65 after the first 2 incidents for him do not go his way in that third line. 18 laps complete in the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race. We're under caution once again, but we're ready to go back under green flag racing from Talladega. You're watching Podium eSports' coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy and the All-Star Race from Lincoln, Alabama.
Everything I see, live lives, no apology. Take charge, no one can compete. I just do what comes natural.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
Welcome back to coverage of the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy. Kenneth Bueno, Josh Lee, Jacob Hitz up here in the broadcast booth, and we have Taylor Burris on pit road, Ryan Bauer producing us all night long as he cameras to us by Dougie Beer. Taylor, I know you mentioned fuel saving. We've had a couple of cautions. What seems to be the memo for the drivers on the pit lane?
Most of these drivers is just focusing on survival, trying to just get to that cutoff point and be a part of that top 12. Looking through the field right now, only 9 drivers out of the 32-car field have utilized one or both of their fast repairs since the start of this race. So very surprising given the fact of how many cautions we have had for this race. So keep an eye on seeing who is going to save that fast repair for the end and who is going to try to stay out of trouble. 2 drivers who I heard that were going to try to take it easy is the 23 and the 44 of Anthony Alfredo and Raja Caruth.
We saw Anthony Alfredo and Raja Caruth go toe-to-toe at Chicagoland last week. Going to be a little conservative here to make it to lap number 65. They sit 15th and 16th on the racetrack at the moment. Big green egg, green flag, though, back in the air. Max Kennan, though, with a solid jump to turn 1. Josh Lee, Brian Boris Cook in a battle so far what looks to be Preston Pardis in the 42. Will Rogers in that 3rd car on the inside lane, and much separation here than probably we expected on the restart. Maybe everyone thought that the first couple yellows was definitely unnecessary. They wanted to make sure that they stayed clean, and Rogers goes to the inside, makes a switch back in front of Kennan.
Gotta remind everybody watching at home as they go 3 wide for the race lead. How about Brian Cook around the outside? That there is no yellow line rule. They can go as far underneath that yellow line as they possibly want to, but when they come back up on the racetrack, they cannot cause a caution. They will be seen at fault if you go from under the yellow line to above the yellow line and cause an incident. So they have free reign to go underneath it. Just don't cause an incident when you come back onto the racetrack. If they still go 2 wide for the lead, that's Rogers on the bottom, Preston Pardis on the outside. Now going way up to the outside goes David Schildhaus. He's getting up in the front for the first time. Brian Cook back into the mix. Here comes Ron Capps up the middle as well. 2 rows, 3 deep as here comes Luke Knupp and William Hale. 2 Road to Glory drivers on the 3rd row. 2 wide trying to get up to the lead.
David Schildhouse, the driver out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and his setup. He's now putting his name into the ring as more drivers get into it, and a huge accordion effect. Look at that run. That's James Bigford in the Charlotte Phoenix eSports machine. 3 wide for the lead, back to turn 1.
How did they not wreck? Schildhouse and Caps banged wheels. I thought they were going to go flying. They keep it in line, and all of a sudden, here is Bickford to take the lead. They're still fanning out 3 wide, 1 on the apron. He's going to stay down low. Here comes Kennedy. He has to go to the middle. They're going to keep it together, I think. This is a hornet's nest up here at the front.
And now it's a gridlock between Road to Glory drivers. That's Presley Sora up there now 4 wide as here comes the middle. That was the 62 of William Hale, and it looks like Preston Pardis is trying to make the inside work with Will Rogers. They're both teammates. They're going to go to the inside. They'll fan out back to turn 1. They'll shuffle through, and for the moment, multi-time winner Presley Sora now commanding the field out of turn 2 to the back straightaway.
He has been the star driver of Road to Glory, and you can see it's already getting messy at the front as William Hale went to the outside, way to the bottom, help from Will Rogers. Here comes Preston Pardis back to the lead, but Rogers has to get out of the gas on the apron. He got back above that yellow line, going through turn 3. They let him up onto the racetrack. They continue to race. One driver almost hits the wall on the outside. The battle for the lead stays on as William Hale tries to get back up there and back to challenge. Presley Sora goes all the way to the outside. 2 Road to Glory drivers up here at the front trying to fight with the Space Station Gaming number 42 of Pardis as they race back down the back straightaway. Kenneth, watch for the runs to come in here. Here comes Rogers back to the inside.
The 42 and the 98 made contact. Now they're 4 wide once again, and it looks like William Hale got shuffled out of it. He's on that outside lane. Will Rogers in the 24 trying to chuck it through the middle, and the 2 Space Station Gaming cars are in there as a bit of contact happens between William Hale actually there and the guy in the middle there, what seems to be Luke Canup in the 77, Jacob Pitts. This has not calmed down for a second. It looked on that restart that it was going to be slightly more calm in terms of the front of the field, but everybody stacked through. Now everybody's here for the front of the field.
William Hale gets bounced up to the wall. They keep it green. We got one on the wall coming off turn number 2. I believe that's Ron Capps, our in-race reporter. We stay green as the field fans out down the back straightaway. What happened was on that restart is everybody got spread out, and with the draft, they just caught up to each other using the draft, and they all just got big runs for the back of the field. We'll get a replay here as things have calmed down for the moment. We'll double check on who that was that got the outside wall, and it was indeed our in-race reporters. They're 4 wide for the lead at start finish.
You see the contact there in between with Ron Capps as he strikes the outside wall. Now he's hit pit road. Looks like his night may be done unless he gets that fast repair. They were 4 wide for a moment, and it looks as though James Bigford has found his way back up to that outside lane, looking through the middle. Almost 4 there. That's William Hale. Underneath Max Kennan. Underneath it looks like Luke Canup. Actually, Luke Canup on the bottom trying to get underneath the 62 of William Hale. Cook on that outside lane, and everybody's just shuffling, trying to make sure they can go for the front. Here's a look at Ford Martin. He started on the outside of that first row, but it has not been the same, Josh, ever since the drop of the green flag. Look at that face. Look at how he's handling. He does not understand what's going on. He's a little bit scared about what's happening on the racetrack in front of him.
Fear, excitement, I'm not sure what that face is for Ford Martin, but tongue out, he is focused right now, trying to run up here at the front as he sits in P9. And you can see the reaction of everything happening in front of them. I'll tell you what, Kenneth, what these drivers are doing when they go down to the bottom of the racetrack, they're trying to take a run that they can't take up on the racetrack. So they go all the way down to the bottom, underneath that yellow line, try and take that run. What happened to Luke Canup trying to get around William Hale was he had cars in front of Hale that he could not get past with his run. He ended up stalling out on the bottom and had to fall all the way back outside of the pack. He's starting to find his way back up here. The 16 now running back to the top 10, but they're 2 wide for the race lead right now as Sora commands the bottom, Pardis commands the top, and here comes Will Rogers all the way up by the wall. This 24 machine has been so aggressive at the beginning portion of this race, Kenneth. Hope it continues through the halfway point because that 24 machine has one of the fastest cars on the racetrack right now.
Will Rogers, we've seen him countless times before in MNR history be very aggressive at the front. Now it looks like Brandon Brown wants to take a hand at the race lead. He moves up 3 wide, trying to get out of the dirty air in the midst of the traffic. Now he's the leader up in that third line. He's going to get shuffled through. That's Rogers who made it 4 wide for a moment to go into that third line, leading that pack. But in a way, Jacob, you're seeing drivers get out of the line, not because they want to make passes most of the time, but it's because they want to avoid the checkup. When you see everybody stacked in like this, especially on that inside lane, everybody starts to check up because they don't want to hit each other. They can't give each other a bumper because there are no bumpers on this Dallara IR-18. So they slow down for a bit. They lay off the throttle, which in turn checks up everybody on that inside lane, which kind of opens the door for some drivers to be like, hey, why don't I go to the inside, get out of this checkup sort of instance, and maybe I could be clear for maybe a position or two going back into the corner.
I watched Raja Karuth fly, and I mean fly, through turns 1 and 2. He gained 5 spots, slicing his dicing his way through the field, pulling up third of the outside line on the back straightaway. That's how big of a run you can get in the draft here. He absolutely used that to his advantage as we go on board. He goes back to that outside line, trying to fall in behind Will Rogers and try and push up to the front again. His internet's been a little wonky so far, but if you can keep that together, that thing has been wicked, wicked fast.
And usually in these cars, and really any combo that you put it on MNR, that driver of the 44 in Raja Karuth has been arguably one of the most aggressive ones throughout the entire field, and it has worked to negative points and to positive points throughout this entire season. He pointed his way in last week at Chicagoland via the strategy and just getting by, finishing in second place in that event. And so far, it looks like the 44 just wants to do the opposite of his usual strat. Instead of running for the front, he's now gunning for the middle, trying to make sure he gets out of the entirety of this chaos. It looks like Presley Sora has found his headway up at the front of the field. He's got help from his road to glory, sort of fellow driver in the 62 of William Mayo. Here's another look at Ford Martin. We saw his face like he was eating hot chicken wings, but now he's in the middle on that inside lane, just behind what looks to be Max Kennan and Taylor Burris, the 2 drivers at the front here with Ford Martin. Sora and Hale, they've been working together, and they've been working together well on that bottom side.
They certainly have. These are 2 of your Road to Glory championship competitors in the playoffs here. Both of them collecting a total of 3 wins this season. As you see why, Sora is definitely going to be one to watch. As for William Hale, we talked to him before the start of today's race. He is insistent on winning tonight's race here at Talladega with these Indy cars, and he has been up towards the front of the field since the start of today's race, as he's going to battle for second with Preston Partis with that inside lane advantage.
Here's a look from William Hale as he works the inside. He's going to stay here with the 98. No moves to go for that yellow line and to the apron, which we've already seen in full effect so far, Josh Lee. But everybody looks to be maybe sort of favoring the middle to the outside lane. I know that inside lane is usually the shortest and fastest way around this Talladega Superspeedway, especially when you're going full throttle. But in terms of avoiding the checkup, looks like the middle lane and that outside lane have somewhat of an advantage when it comes to getting off of the 33 degrees of banking in either corner and just trying to make the momentum happen down the straights and to keep it up to head for the front. And it seems to be working so far for the drivers in the middle and the top lane so at this point.
But you got to think about it. When you're running on that bottom line, more cars mean more checkups. So any driver who wants to take a run or wants to try and get a run can go down to the bottom, get that run, and slingshot up into the outside line and try and run there. Right now, what we're seeing is a handful of drivers running in the middle, handful of drivers running up by the wall, and then we're just kind of seeing stragglers down on the bottom. Once you leave about this front group, which is now about 9 to 10 strong, you see a lot of gaps. It is not as formed up as it is up here at the front, and that's a bit of a telltale sign of we've had some drivers wreck out. We have some drivers who are just trying to be safe as we run through the middle portion of this race, but these drivers who are up here in the pack at the front want to race. And as we go on board with James Bickford in that Charlotte Phoenix machine in the middle of the pack, you can see this view perfectly from the inside of his Indy car. 3 drivers in front of him, 3 wide for the race lead.
29 of James Bickford, the driver out of Napa, California, who made a huge slingshot effort to go to the front of the field. There's a look at him once again as he works that middle lane, trying to at least keep himself stable, not make any crazy moves for the moment, but just make sure he can get to lap 65. And Jacob, we've already mentioned it a couple of times. That lap, specifically 65, is going to be the benchmark for everybody to stay within the top 12, as Core Urban and Lap Car is going to get entirely lapped by the entire field. He's going to work the apron and get out of harm's way. But now we're already pretty much halfway through to lap 65. So how do you try and pose this? Says Will Rogers casually almost goes 4 wide for P2.
Yeah, that almost worked, and now he's going to have to try and get back on the racetrack without killing the field, and he gets it to happen. That thing got sideways on him as he tried to get off the apron and back onto the racetrack. Oh, my goodness. And, man, William Hale, he had a whale of a catch coming off turn 2. That thing got loose, kind of wobbled on him. He was able to catch it as we're on board with Devin Henry. He's back up in this pack. Remember, he got involved in that early wreck, had nowhere to go, kind of caught Gary Sexton in the mouth. Here he is now, lurking his way back up to the front.
So we move from 3 wide action to just 2 wide on the racetrack, and it looks like Presley Sorrell, who's maintained control on that bottom side, is going to be the convincing leader for the moment. But it looks like Preston Partis for Space Station Gaming is trying to work that outside lane. Here's a look away from that club. Jerky, Delara IR18, looking at William Harris so far, who's working in second on that inside lane with Max Kennan, the third car there. And just everybody on the bottom side, there's Ford Martin, Brian Boris Cook, who settled into that inside lane just behind the 07. And maybe, just maybe, Josh Lee, this could be the turning point where everybody's going to start to think, okay, I need to survive to lap 65, maybe not go for the lead if I'm in the top 12. Just try and hang in here and make sure nothing crazy happens, no mistakes, no incidents happen, and I can be through to the 10-lap dash at the end for $175.
But here's the problem, Kenneth. When you're at a road course, when you're at oval track that is not like this one at Talladega, when you get into this point of the race, you can almost back off a little bit. You can save a little bit of tires, you can save some fuel, and you can run a little bit slower lap times, be a little bit smoother on your throttle and brake inputs to just try and ultimately try and run some smoother lap times and be around towards the end of the race. Here, you are always on. Unless that yellow flag is called, you are always running above 230 miles an hour. You're always hitting that throttle full pedal, and unless something terribly wrong is happening, you need to hit the brakes. So they can't take any time to relax. Every second they're getting another run. Every second they're having to decide where to take that run. Every second they're deciding, do I want to be here? Do I want to go to a different lane? Really, right now, it is becoming just sort of a game of, okay, if I have this run, don't take it. Get off the gas, stay in line. That becomes very difficult to do once everybody is doing that. Guess what that creates, Kenneth? It creates checkups.
And checkups have been the result of some incidents tonight, as Anthony Alfredo has made a solid charge to the entrance of the top 5. And now he's got that Delara IR18 working, and it looks like no front wing on his number 23, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the speed and the handling of his car so far as he works the outside. Got some help here from the sim seat, Delara IR18 of Brandon Brown. But as we're working through the midway portion of this Rowdy Energy All-Star Race, I remind you that our coverage is brought to you by our friends over at Battle Beaver. Battle Beaver has everything you need for your next custom controller, console, or PC skin. With options for PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, and more, Battle Beaver has everything you need to make your system look exactly the way you want it. Head to BattleBeaverCustoms.com to pick up your next skin. And it looks like so far, for the moment, Jacob Pitts drivers have hit pit road. Pit strategy underway. Fuel strategy is happening right now at the halfway mark.
Here comes Max Kennan. He's going to come onto the pit road. Not many others or anybody is going to come with him. He came over the radio and said, hey, I'm coming this time. If anybody wants to come with me, David Schildhouse is going to come in. Adam Cabot, who's way back there, he's going to come in as well. You had a lot of folks come on to pit road, including Brad Perez came on, Will Rogers, Preston Partis. They all came down that last lap. And now they got told by race control, please tell the field if you are coming to pit road under green, so that way we don't have any massive crashes trying to get to pit road, because we've seen it, especially at this racetrack, where things can get ugly when people don't communicate that they're coming to pit road. Penalty for Brad Perez. He exited the pits unsafely. We'll see if they clear that for him or not, as we have a new race leader, Justin Malillo.
The Rowdy man, the Traxxon.GG Delara IR18 swings in front of Anthony Alfredo, and there's a look at him as he takes control of this Rowdy Energy All-Star Race with only 39 laps remaining. Of course, the drivers down pit road include many of the front runners at the time. But at this point, we're going to see whether these drivers at this point up here, whether it's first all the way through even 10th or 12th, head down for pit lane service, whether they go through together or whether they go through separately. Here's a couple of competitors and one's around. Looks like William Hale might have spun the car down to the inside lane. And we will stay green for the moment, but that car goes straight into the inside wall. And for the moment, we have another battle for the lead. Here's Josh Slate to the outside.
Hale's going to tow it back to the pit lane. Here comes the run from Slate to the outside of Malillo. On the inside is Michael Massey as well. Brandon Brown's going to try and give some help to Joshua Slate on the outside. Here comes a run from a driver on the outside line. Here comes the 77 of Devin Henry into this group as well. You're on board with the 12 of Brown. Up on that outside line, that was a lapped machine of Gary Sexton in the 13. He has since backed off just slightly, letting these leaders race it on as Massey's going to try and make a move on Malillo. Here comes Devin Henry back up into the top 3, and to the lead goes Massey. Malillo's going to continue to run the bottom, inches ahead for the race lead. Brown back to 3rd, Henry back to 4th, and Joshua Slate in 1 lap is back to almost outside the top 5.
Here's a look at Sports 360. Arizona's Devin Henry, the 77, out of Glendale, Arizona. He's working the inside, and he's one of those competitors so far to keep himself out on pit road. So instead of going down for service, he's going to wait a little bit longer and still going to stay out on the track, as it looks like the 53 has hit the brakes and is now going for pit road speed limit. He's going to get some service around the halfway mark. Taylor Burris, while everybody's on green flag pit stops, what do you have on what's happening so far?
These drivers who are staying out for long periods of time, such as our race leader Devin Henry, Brandon Brown, they gotta be careful of how long they're gonna be staying out there. One, of course, of running out of fuel. You don't want to do that here at Talladega, but also how these cars handle the less fuel you have in those cars. These cars can get very light in the rear end and lose very easily control if you're not adjusting those weight checkers during the corners in this race. That's going to be so critical, as we see here. Next group of cars are coming down pit road. A couple of other cars who have made their way back up through the field include Mark Ravillas, who just completed his spot. Here comes Joshua Slate, Michael Massey, and Seth Egger, who is coming down pit road.
So the strategy only continues to unfold, and we are still getting closer to lap 65. So in the midst of this entire green flag circumstance, Josh Lee, you have an entire workaround to that lap to try and get to the top 12 by the time the caution comes out, and just hope and pray that either something happens or you can cycle out in the right place as the leaders still function out, and it looks like they will most likely come down. Here's Devin Henry on the brakes for pit road.
Brown is in as well with Nick Olson, so that puts everybody into the pit lane. Joshua Slate is exiting. Who's going to be the first driver on the track? It looks to be the 24 of Will Rogers. Actually, it's the 98 of Presley Sora, who's looking to take the lead this time by, as Justin Malillo came up in front of your race leaders. Did not have enough speed to keep that draft train of 3 behind. So he is going to blend back into this pack. He might have an opportunity to take the lead, but you can see that 3-car lineup on the outside. So we go on board with the 4th driver in that pack of David Schildhaus. Malillo is going to take the lead, albeit by a couple of inches, as the driver at the front of this train is a lap down. Sora in 2nd is going to fall into line.
And now what this is doing here, Jacob, is separating the field sort of for the first time all night long, because many of the competitors have to go down for pit lane service. It's going to spread everybody into different packs, so it's going to bring maybe 5, 6 cars together, maybe bring 10 in another group, maybe only 3 in another group. So it is completely changing the game with who some drivers want to work with. Maybe their teammates, maybe some friends, maybe just they have to work with them because they have to. And this in turn is just thinning out the field, which only amps up the intensity with 33 laps remaining.
That's going to make things really difficult for those that are trying to make it inside the top 12 before the cut that we will see in about 16 laps or so. We're getting closer and closer to that mark, and now that everybody's spread out, that's not really what they needed to see, because behind this lead pack with Justin Malillo and Presley Sora on these lappers, from Brandon Brown on back, we've got a good 10, maybe dozen cars that are in a pack that are trying to catch these guys. Some are on the lead lap, some are not, and they, if they can get organized, could outnumber here these race leaders, as Justin Malillo is back out front. And Josh talked about it. He was actually up 2 speed when those guys like Presley Sora and David Schoenhaus caught them. The only difference was Melillo was on Gilligan's Island all by himself. Everybody else, Sora, Schoenhaus, plus those lappers, were in a pack. So they already had 5-10 extra miles an hour over Melillo by the time they got to him.
So it's brought a couple of competitors into their packs, and with Melillo in the race lead, he's going to have some Dallara IR18s to get around. Those are lap machines, so no worries. Here's a look at TJ Majors, who's made a good movement up through the field. He started back in 14th in the middle of the Hornet's Nest, and now he's pushed himself into the top 5. It's been a rather quiet night so far, Josh, for the driver of that 2, and we've seen TJ be in competition for many race wins. I can recall many of the dirt races. I know the trucks at Knoxville, he was a driver to go for the win there. Bristol Dirt in the trucks also, but TJ Majors has been around in the front of the field for a good amount of time, and seems like tonight in this race, in this sort of capacity, he's also doing the same thing, just stealthily working his way to the front. And now that he's in 5th, he's got a good opportunity coming down to the final laps before lap 65 to keep himself into the top 12 and maybe be a little bit comfortable moving into that last 10 lap stage.
I've broadcasted TJ Majors racing a handful of times, and every race is pretty much the same thing. We don't talk about TJ Majors until the end of the race because he's always at the front at the end of the race. Majors always finds himself at the front of this pack, or at the front of any pack that he is in. Currently P5, and you can see him, he's laying back a little bit. He's in 6th gear, which a lot of the drivers earlier on in this race were pretty much holding steady in 4th gear. So he's running 6th, just at the tail end of this group, as you can see that second pack starting to close its way in. They're not there yet, but we could see a large pack come into play as the pack from believe it is Nick Olsen on back, 6th all the way through to roughly about the middle portion of the top 15 there. They're starting to catch up to this front group.
That's Nick Olsen, Anthony Alfredo. They're side by side. They're trying to catch to the main group there. They are coming out of turn 2. There are the leaders going to turn 3. And so we will pack the field at the most opportune time coming to lap 65. We'll see who gets in to that top 12. But wow, as we continue through the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race, to remind you that our coverage is presented by BOOSTED.BIZ. Boosted builds a custom platform for your brand to sell your products. They take care of everything, pay nothing, and let you handle the rest. To get started with your online store, visit Boosted.BIZ today. So as everybody continues to cram through the field, we already have 3 wide. There's Max Kennan up at the top as he tries to make what looks to be the pass for the front of the field, or what looks to be to keep himself unlapped for the entire race. There's a look at Justin Melillo, who currently sits in P2 just behind Joshua Sladen. I think, in a way, Jacob, we may have to worry just a bit because that second pack, although it is in the field just a bit with green flag pit stops, they're starting to catch up and they've got strength in numbers. So these drivers may have to start to maybe brace for impact when it comes down to the final laps before we get to lap 65. What's going to be the dreaded caution for everybody?
Well, here's the thing. You've got the leaders 1st through 5th behind 4 lap cars. And these lap cars are what's kind of killing the process here. Will Rogers, Max Kennan, Preston Partners, and Cole Irvin. Irvin almost got sent off into the ditch outside of turn number 3 that last time by. He got pushed way up the banking. That got me to pay attention to these guys because it's the top 4 of lappers here that are trying to stay on the lead lap. And then you've got Slate, Melillo, Sora, Majors, and then you've got Alfredo. So these guys, the leaders, they're just begging for mercy right now because this second pack is coming. They are outnumbered.
And when you get outnumberance here at Talladega, that means huge runs and potential big stack-ups and may result in the big one. We had a total of, I'd say, 5 to 6 cars in one of our crashes, Josh Lee, that resulted in some of the biggest events that we've seen tonight in this all-star race. But when you put more than at least 20 cars, I'd say, back into the mix in an accordion effect, it could result in some contact and maybe some controversy amongst the top 12. Right now it's not visible, but they're slowly catching up. The drivers in the mix of Nick Olsen and Anthony Alfredo are slowly starting to close in here for Major, Sora, Slate, all these drivers who are trying to get around lap cars. And now here they come at the exit of the trial, maybe making a charge here back to turn 1.
There's a possibility, Kenneth, engine temps might come into play. David Schildhaus in the 20 just had his engine blow up on him in turn number 1. Will we see more of that? Look at Alfredo.
They're 4 wide.
Racing 4 wide for the race lead as they go into turn number 3. But what a move for Anthony Alfredo to go to the race lead in the 23 and comfortably at that. Here comes Luke Knupp up the middle. Here comes to the bottom, trying to look around the number 23, lap car to the bottom. The second place driver, James Bickford, is going to look to the outside.
Everybody is here, and we have a challenge for the lead. Alfredo goes to the outside. Couple cars, though, hit the outside wall. There's Bickford slamming into the outside safer barrier. Will we stay green? Answer is no. Caution flag with 24 laps remaining. There's Bickford, his Charlotte Phoenix eSports car, hard into the outside wall. He's gonna try and reset. There he goes to pit road. And we had a couple drivers, Jacob Hitz, shuffling out of the way, which could have caused the yellow. And then we had at least 3-4 cars that got shoved into the wall, and the rest is history. There's the contact back up there, what looks to be William Hale on the wall, and then Bickford slams into the barrier as well. Same deal, contact from the middle lane.
Yeah, it was Hale and Knupp that was the first contact that sent Knupp into the outside wall. Let's go on board with Hale. He had a whale of a save when Alfredo made that big move. There was the first contact, and then I'm not sure if that was... I guess there was contact between Presley Sora and James Bickford that sent him up to the outside wall. Tough to tell from that angle. But 2 separate incidents are going to bring out the caution. I don't remember, because so much happened in the last minute, if Joshua Lee actually got to the fact that David Schildhaus, his car hand grenaded a couple of laps ago, had to coast it. He had to pit. He used his fast repair. Right now, he is 2 laps down as a result of it. So that's really going to dampen his chances of making this top 12 here, as we're going to have pretty much 2 laps to settle it once we get back to green, guys.
Complications, implications when it comes down to lap 65. With the top 12 remaining, they have to be in the top 12, each and every competitor, to advance into the last 10 lap stage. So we will have many of the competitors, I believe, maybe coming down pit road. We'll see if Alfredo takes a hit. Answer is no. One car with a wheel sort of rolling around into the tri-oval, and they will go down pit road, but for the moment everybody will stay out. They want to keep as much track position as possible. So we talked to you about Rowdy Energy and all the fantastic things they do for Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy, but they also have been doing giveaways for the past couple of weeks throughout the entire season, and this week's winner is Sam Warner, Sam_Warner15, the winner of our Rowdy Energy giveaway, and says, just like Orange Crush, for the orange citrus flavor, voted for the orange citrus flavor for this combo to happen here from Talladega. And how about a great picture there, Josh Lee, a Rowdy Energy can, and Bristol Motor Speedway, NASCAR racing. No better way to have a race sort of event and to attend a race event and to have a Rowdy alongside.
I don't know if I can think of a better combo than a Rowdy Energy and the Bristol Motor Speedway. A fantastic choice of drink and track to attend a NASCAR race at, I should say.
And also Kyle Busch, multi-time winner of Bristol. He's been sort of the king of the Coliseum. He's won 3 in a row from the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series events in one weekend. So I think that's the best combo possible. Have a Rowdy, and then have a watch at what exactly the last great Coliseum can do with a bunch of stock cars running around every single lap. Let's see exactly what's happening, though, through the entire field. Remember, we are getting close to lap 65, so this will, in turn, get us through to the end, and the top 12 are going to advance. We're going to see how exactly they will fare for the moment, and I guess we'll bring you our iRacing Midway Race Break, which is, of course, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport with virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Australian supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and much, much more. With a daring move to the front of the field, Anthony Alfredo in the 23 holds your race lead. TJ Majors has moved up to P2 on the racetrack in his number 2 IR18. Presley Sora out of the Road to Glory camp. He currently rounds out the top 3. Joshua Slade, a remarkable move for him to the front of the field. He's now P4 with Crypto Autosports' Ford Martin trying to get back to the front of the field where he started in 5th. Brandon Brown currently 6th in the SimSeeds car in 6th. Michael Massey currently rounds out the top 7. Justin Malillo and his Traction.GG machine is currently 8th. Glendale, Arizona's Devin Henry sits in P9. And Road to Glory's Nick Olson. Josh Lee rounds out the top 10.
Seth Eggert is going to sit P11. Mark Rabilis sits P12 with Steve Lafont P13. Raja Caruth and Drew Welker are going to round out your top 15. Jason Keffer, Case Kallenbach with Brett Baldeck, Max Kennan, and Luke Knapp going to round out the top 20. Jacob Hitz.
Will Rogers sits in P21 with Preston Pardis in 22nd. Brian Boris Cook sits P23 with William Hale sitting P24. Adam Cabot 25th. Brad Perez 26th. Ron Capps in 27th, now on the lead lap. And you also have, let's see, David Schildhaus back on the lead lap. Gary Sexton, Cole Irvin, the top 30, all on the lead lap. Bickford is 2 down. Garrett Miller is out of the race, I do believe. He's 10 laps down. I don't believe, no, he is not here anymore. So 31 drivers are left. 30 of them are on the lead lap here for this restart. I think we're going to have about 3 to settle it here.
Gonna have a couple of laps to lap 65, but this concludes tonight's iRacing race break with over 170,000 drivers on the service and over 90 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from. iRacing is your portal to the racing world. Get on track today and start your sim racing career at iRacing.com. I'm not sure what the reaction is other than pure excitement, pure shock out of the booth. And from anybody watching at home, this has been an insane combo. Josh, Jacob, I mean, how do we even express the first segment, and how are we going to express the next couple of laps when we slim it down from more than 32 cars on the field to just 12?
Crazy, and even crazier, four-lap shootout for the top 12. We'll have a caution, we'll cut everybody else off, and we'll run the top 12 for the final 10 laps. But what to expect, I don't know. Why are you asking me? Nobody knows anything about what we can expect for these last 4 laps for the shootout, and then for the last 10 laps. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, we're the analysts here. We're supposed to know something about this. Jacob, any final thoughts before we go green?
Let's see how many cars finish this race. We'll see if we have 12 that finish this part of the race first, and then we'll go back from there. I don't know if we'll make it.
Well, we'll take it step by step. We'll give baby steps, I'd say, to go all the way. Even though at 230 miles per hour, that is not baby steps. Those are gargantuan Bigfoot steps as we are ready to take the big green egg, green flag once again in the Rowdy Energy All-Star race. Only a couple laps to settle as we get the Tufco 4 and 20 to go. And one driver immediately went for the inside wall. It may have looked to be, it was a blue car all the way to the inside, but we will stay green. And for the moment, Anthony Alfredo with headway out of turn 2.
He's going to have a lot of momentum going down this back straightaway. Here comes the move to the outside. How about CJ Majors trying to get back up towards the front? He takes a peek to the outside. What a run on the outside line. Justin Malillo is going to go for the lead. He goes side by side to shootout with Alfredo as they wreck in the back.
One car into the outside wall. We will stay green. We'll see if the caution is weighed. Alfredo, though, holds control of the front. Justin Malillo, we saw him fighting for the playoff just last week. He is fighting for his all-star life into the top 12. 3, 4 wide as one driver gets to the apron. They'll scatter across the racetrack, and a car goes around. Big stack up out of turn 2.
Oh, that's half the field. They're gone. And that's going to do it here. David Schildhaus is on the radio screaming that we should be allowed to race back. Brandon Brown involved in this one. Brett Baldick is in it. I believe Seth Eggert has a piece of it. We've got multiple cars involved, and it looks like that's going to do it, I think.
We'll take a look. There's Brandon Brown. Remember, he's been involved in incidents tonight. That's a huge hit to the outside wall. What looks to be, I believe that's Ron Capps there. Seth Eggert in the light blue IR-18 that hits the inside wall. His car is totaled there. We'll take another look at it. That's Max Kennan in the Interstate Batteries car that gets involved in it. And I mean, we talk about it, Josh, just how difficult it is to refrain from getting damage in a pack like this with these IR-18s. They have the damage model, so any bit of contact is going to send a wing around, send a wheel around, send the tethers all over the place. And with everything going all at once, it's just hard to get out of the chaos. Here's a look from Ron Capps, our Fox Sports app in-race reporter. He gets through. I apologize, it was another car that looked like Ron Capps' machine that got into the outside wall, but this is arguably the biggest wreck of the night by far.
And you can see how many drivers just really had nowhere to go when you're running above 200 miles an hour, whether it's real or virtual. To try and stop like that for a wreck, it becomes near impossible, especially if you have no idea it's happening. It looked like one, maybe two wrecks, both happening at the same time and kind of combining into one. We had one driver who spun all the way down to the apron there, and just so much happening there in that wreck, and unfortunately it's taking out a lot of great race cars. And I believe this is going to be that top 12 cutoff. Ford Martin telling the drivers in the top 12 to stay on the racetrack. They'll be pitting soon for any drivers who want to pit under the yellow flag, but we still have a good majority of the drivers still on the racetrack trying to see if we're even going to get back to racing and have a shootout for the top 12, or if that caution is going to be it. Right now, Kenneth, if we are going to take the top 12 for the final 10 laps here, it'll be Alfredo, Slate, Martin, Massey, Major, Sora, Malillo, Rogers, Pardis, and Caruth, with Keffer and Olsen rounding out those top 12. And it sounds like the 42 of Preston Pardis given an EOL penalty that'll take him out of the top 12, and Steve Font is going to stay on the racetrack.
Unbelievable set of circumstances. Race control gives the end of line penalty to the 42, and now the 11 gets the spot into the top 12. It looked for a moment as if Nick Olsen, he was going to have the final spot into the top 12. He was going to be the last one in, but with Pardis given that EOL penalty, it's going to shuffle him to the back of the field, and Steve Font will have a chance to race for $175. What an eventful set of laps there, where we had only about maybe 3 or 4 laps to settle that. We had huge moves up to the front of the field and that huge wreck out of turn 2, and now we will further decide who will be the 12 drivers that will go for that last 10-lap dash. And of course, they will stay out on the racetrack. Nobody will go to pit road just to try and get timing and scoring correct, so they can eliminate the right drivers, keep the same top 12, keep the right top 12 on the track, and then run all the way for the checkered flag in this Rowdy Energy All-Star race. So while we get settled, while we try to regroup ourselves and get ready for a top 12 10-lap shootout here in this race, we will take a moment to step aside, but you won't miss a thing. You're watching coverage of the Rowdy Energy All-Star race of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy from Talladega.
We are an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. We don't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach to flooring, and neither should you. When you choose Tufco, we consult with you about your needs, industry requirements, and factor in numerous variables. After assessing your facility, we engineer your floor and drains, then install everything ourselves. That's the Tufco way.
Visit our website at tufcoflooring.com.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Everything I see, live lives, no apology. Take charge, no one can compete. I just do what comes natural.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flags Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Maconi Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Maconi Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MaconiSetupShop.com and learn why Maconi Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway eSports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Top 12, 10-lap dash ahead of us here for the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy. Kenneth Bueno, Josh Lee, Jacob Hitz up here in the broadcast booth. Ryan Bauer producing all the shots using cameras provided to us by Dougie Beard. Taylor Burris will be on pit road. Cameron Auburn providing all of the shots on social media. Final laps ready to get settled here from Talladega. We had a bit of controversy involving Preston Pardis, who had an end-of-line penalty due to the recent incident, pushed Steve off front as the last driver into the top 12, and we will have Anthony Alfredo and Road to Glory driver Presley Sora lining up row number 1. Chances are, more often than not, it will not last like this by the time we get to the checkered flag. Here's a look on board with Melillo. Pace car is down. Alfredo and Presley Sora give me the first two on the gas and up through the gears in their IR18s. Big green egg, green flag in the air. Not sure for how long it'll last. Alfredo up to the gears. He's cool and he's clear back to turn 1.
They're all going to try and get in line, and those in the back may have the better run just because they'll have the draft in front of them. They'll be able to suck up off of the cars in front of them and make a better move. Here they go, fanning out already. Here comes Will Rogers downstairs. 3 wide for the lead with Alfredo in the middle. Ford Martin, now they're going to go 4 wide as they head to turn 3.
Ford Martin shows the outside. Will Rogers shows the inside. They're still 4 wide as Michael Massey goes way upstairs trying to take that lead away. He's going to stall out on that outside line, however. Anthony Alfredo leads as Sora comes back.
Here's Ford Martin on board as he's going to help Sora on the outside lane. They're going to ditch the 23 of Anthony Alfredo. They're going to head straight for the tri-oval. Back to the start-finish line. 13 laps to go. They will fill the gap to the inside as Alfredo in the lead in turn 1.
When these guys try and get from the bottom way down on the apron back onto the racetrack, it's like shoving a marshmallow into a parking meter. Here they come, 2 by 2 down the back straightaway as the field continues to fan out. 1 car leads the outside line. Presley Sora in the middle, up high. I believe it's TJ Majors with Anthony Alfredo downstairs.
Way downstairs goes Alfredo. Here comes the run from Joshua Slate as well behind as they continue to run. Big run coming from Jason Keffer in the back.
We saw Bickford do something like this earlier on in tonight's coverage. Jason Keffer in the 33, now making the 3rd line possible. Here's TJ Majors for Crypto Autosport. He's going to help 3 wide for the lead.
Back through turn number 1 and 2 they go. You've got Keffer leading the outside line. Slate downstairs with Alfredo. You've got Sora leading the middle as they're still 3 wide for second, side by side for the lead.
Caruth got a big run off turn 3 to join the line in the middle. They're continuing to run 2 wide for the race lead. Anthony Alfredo on the bottom. Presley Sora trying to fight. They'll go to 2x2 for the moment as Keffer comes down into the middle line. And here comes the field off 4.
We have yet to talk about Roger Caruth, but he's biding his time. Here's Will Rogers, 24 inside, 4 wide for what looks to be second. He's going to back out. Alfredo with command. No challenge yet.
Nobody's been able to move Anthony Alfredo out of the way. Nobody's been bold enough to go to the inside and say, hey, I've had enough of you leading. Here comes Will Rogers. He goes below the yellow line. He comes back up. No foul there as he tries to get to the inside of Josh Slate.
They're continuing to fight 4 wide again as they go into 3. This time it's for second place as Anthony Alfredo left it all happen in his mirrors. Keffer gets a tap. He's into the wall off 3. No caution. Will Rogers for the lead.
We will stay green. Now here comes the 24. 3 wide on the apron in the trial with Talladega. For the lead, he's going to get shuffled back. He's going to move to second. Martin will check up to give him space. Josh Slate will try to work through the middle, but Alfredo still clear in turn 1. Sora now working the outside.
Here comes Presley Sora. Big run on the outside line with help from Slate. Slate pulls out, makes it 3 wide. For the lead down the back straightaway. Will Rogers going to stay in line. Let's see if he tries to go. Here comes Roger Caruth downstairs. 4 wide for the lead.
He's going to try and clear him, and he will. What a run for Roger Caruth. Down the back straightaway into 3. He takes the lead. He's got Anthony Alfredo in tow, and here comes Rogers to the outside.
Roger Caruth was 1 spot short of the race win at Chicagoland. He's going to try and make sure it does not happen this week. Contact with Alfredo into the wall. That looks like Michael Massey. Caution flag waves with 9 laps to go. And after so long, Jacob hits that it looked like Alfredo was unstoppable on the inside lane. The pass is complete by Roger Caruth. Everything gets set in motion. And Alfredo, after a charge on the inside from what looked to be Ford Martin, gave him the contact, and we have ourselves another restart in the final laps of this race.
Ford trying to get back on the racetrack. He got a little loose, might have had to lift, and got hit from the back by Anthony Alfredo. That collected numerous cars. Michael Massey in the fence. That also took out, I believe, that is Josh Slate. Yeah, it's up against the outside wall. Tripod in the thing without a left front wheel. We go on board with Massey. He had nowhere to go but straight over the top of Anthony Alfredo. That's going to send Ford Martin to the back for this restart, and that's going to give us just a few laps to go to settle it here from Talladega. That could have been a lot worse. Lucky that they did it at one of the widest parts on the racetrack here. That's going to give everybody a chance to breathe and figure it out. Roger Caruth, though, may have just pulled the move of the race with that move 4 wide down the backstretch.
Here's a look at Alfredo. That was Ford Martin coming up from the apron. We saw Will Rogers use that same move, but he would emerge a little bit later at the exit of that chute. Going back to turn 1, looks like Martin came up a little bit high. Caruth gave him the space, but Alfredo was there with his nose, got into contact, and as Michael Massey hit him, gave shades of Marcus Arison at the Nashville Grand Prix earlier this year. Now we'll have a couple drivers hit pit road. Of course, Alfredo, Massey, and it looks to be a couple others coming down for service. That appears to be Nick Olson in the 28. That's Ford Martin. And what will be Justin Melillo in the 53. So all of them will go for service here, whether it be maybe their fast repairs that they have yet to burn up, or just some extra time. Remember, there is still a couple of laps to go, and with the field shortened this way, Josh Lee, you don't have to worry about losing too much track position, because with the way we've seen slingshot moves happen at this track, it is definitely possible to go from 12th at the back of the field to the front of the field in a matter of a corner.
It can be so easy, especially with only a condensed pack now that we have. We're only going to have, I believe, 12 drivers still left in this race. As Joshua Slate's 1 lap down, but everybody from 11th on up is still on the lead lap. And in the words of Roger Caruth, Will Rogers, Presley Sora, they all still have 2 fast repairs left. Melillo and Ford Martin with 2 fast repairs left as well. Using both of his is Jason Keffer. Majors, Affont, Olson, and Massey all have used 1 of their 2. So even if we see a couple more cautions here, they can still use their fast repairs to get damage fixed. 7 to go at the line, and everything is on the table now here, Kenneth. The money is on the line, and if we were in Vegas, everybody would be betting on black, trying to get this race win.
It's looking like you put the money in the middle of the counter, you let all the drivers surround the table and just look at it. Try and scramble for it in the final laps of this race. Jacob Hitz, I mean, you've seen it all. I know you've covered a lot of crazy races, not only in this league, but across the sim racing world. I mean, with these competitors at the highest level, they're still racing like if it's a championship race, like if it's a playoff race, whatever. And it's been so fun to watch, especially with that Rajah Caruth move down into turn 3. We have yet to see that, and he pulled it off.
Well, you got to keep in mind, you're not racing for points. You're not racing for, well, you're technically racing for a win. What you're really racing for, though, is the $175 that you get at the end of this deal for winning this thing. That's what these guys are hunting for. Money makes these guys really, really desperate. They're going to make some stupid moves, I'm sure of it. But if they can keep it clean, they're going to put on one whale of a show. And right now, I think that's the mission of all 12 of these guys as we're coming to the restart here, Kenneth.
And with Anthony Alfredo further back into the top 12, that would, of course, move the 44 of Rajah Caruth to the front of the field. He will be joined by the 24 of Will Rogers, the Flying Hawaiian, to his outside. Big green egg, green flag will wave back into the air. 7 laps to go, and it's a sluggish restart out of the 44. Rogers will clear easily back to turn 1.
Yeah, Rajah Caruth was in the wrong gear coming to the restart. Kind of fell asleep at the switch, but Will Rogers takes the lead. TJ Major scoots away for a second, and now here comes a car underneath Rajah Caruth. It's Anthony Alfredo, 3 wide with Presley Sora in the middle.
Look at how quickly, even after a bad start from Caruth, backing up his entire pack, they have just caught him. Sora goes way up to the wall as more contact is made further back between a handful of drivers. Caruth almost falls all the way back to the end.
Caruth with no draft, no help. He'll shuffle through to the top 12. Anthony Alfredo, despite the incident, he's going to make a bit of contact there with himself and Jason Keffer. Keffer's going to get shuffled out of the mix, but Alfredo's backing into turn 1.
3 wide behind him. Presley Sora stuck in the high side. You've got Will Rogers downstairs. Michael Massey, rather, right behind him. TJ Major's falling back. Now Ford Martin trying to scoot into the picture with Steve Affont. Here comes Presley Sora to the outside. Will Rogers in the middle, 3 wide.
3 wide again, back into 1. Rogers in the middle, all the way downstairs goes Anthony Alfredo. Here comes the run from Ford Martin. He's trying to get back into it. Is there 2 wide off 4?
2 wide, a couple of rows deep. It's Alfredo now versus Rogers out of the trial. Well, here's a look at Ford Martin. There's Jason Keffer making it back 3 wide as they head back for turn 1. Jacob Hitz.
Keffer shot out of a canyon, doesn't have a drafting partner up top. He's going to lose a little bit of time. Alfredo keeps his foot on it. He retakes the lead. Will Rogers is going to retake second, but Keffer's going to stay with the foot to the floor on the high side. Still no help. It falls 2 by 2 down the back straightaway.
As they race into turn number 3, still 2 wide as Anthony Alfredo on the bottom. Will Rogers trying that outside line. It's not working well for him, Kenneth, as they race back to the line. He's going to need to try something different.
And now you got to think about what the 4 cars near the rear are going to do. Here's Presley Sora through the middle, 3 wide. He tucks in just behind the 23 to wait 4 laps to go here from Talladega.
Here comes Justin Malillo. He was waiting and waiting and waiting, and now he's making a move. 3 wide to the outside for P3 with Rogers and Massey downstairs. Here comes Presley Sora pulling out for the lead. Side by side with Alfredo down low. Sora up high with help from Rogers.
On board with Justin Malillo as he goes all the way to the outside. Here comes another run from Keffer. He comes back into the picture, but Anthony Alfredo trying to hold them all at bay. It's 3 to go at the line. Sora's trying that middle.
We're seeing comers and goers through the field here at Talladega, but it's Anthony Alfredo who has been fearless at the front of the field. He'll head for the start-finish line. 3 laps to go from Lincoln, Alabama. 3 wide move. Now here comes Caruth to the outside, or Malillo.
That's Malillo coming around the outside. He's now got help. He's got a car up there. It is Steve Affont. He's going to join the party. 6-car breakaway. 3 wide, 2 rows deep down the back straightaway, headed to turn 3.
On board the Affont. He's on that outside line trying to help Justin Malillo. Malillo's going to fall back. Sora tries to move to the bottom line, trying to get a run on Anthony Alfredo. It's not going to work as they go back off 4.
Anthony Alfredo still working the bottom side. Presley Sora has some significant help, though. Come across the line. Only a handful of miles left from Talladega. What can the field do to stop Alfredo as they head 3 wide back for turn 1?
Remember, if they make the white flag, they will race it back. Otherwise, if they crash before they make the white flag, they will redo it. As almost contact between Massey and Will Rogers. 3 wide for second with Alfredo up downstairs. Leading this thing, Presley Sora holds the middle line with Melillo trying to get a run on the high.
What a run for Anthony Alfredo. He's been so dominant on the bottom line. He's got Michael Massey in tow. Presley Sora on the outside with help from Rogers. It's white flag this time.
Road to Glory versus Pro Series. Alfredo versus Presley Sora. To the trial they'll go, and to the Maconi setup shop. 1 to go. The head for to turn 1. Jacob Pitts for the final time.
Presley Sora on the outside line, trying to get a run together. It's 2-4 cars with the breakaway. Here comes Justin Melillo. He pulls to the inside line. He goes to the apron. 3 wide with Melillo downstairs. He's got a run. He's going to go all the way for the lead and be side by side with Alfredo as they hit at turn number 3. Here comes a car, TJ Majors to turn 3.
Majors is going to get the big run, and into the wall goes Will Rogers. It's a huge hit, but Majors to the lead. Here comes Matthew to the bottom.
It's about 4 or 5 wide around. Multiple cars go. They'll head straight for the triangle. And it looks to be Rogers gets turned. Who's going to get to the line first? I believe it will be TJ Majors to victory lane in the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race from Talladega.
Where did he come from? TJ Majors up to the front. He takes the lead on the last lap going into turn 3 and takes the win. Unbelievable. That is All-Star Racing at Talladega.
He was one of 2 drivers that didn't get wrecked there on that last lap. TJ and Justin Melillo were the only 2 that were surviving coming to the line. Will Rogers got turned by Massey in the tri-oval. Anthony Alfredo got sent into the bleachers coming off turn number 4. TJ Majors timed it perfectly, and he deserves the $175 for winning this race.
The 2 cars to survive, the 2 and the 53, are the last ones to chase for the tri-oval, to chase for the start-finish line. But it is TJ Majors walking home $175 richer from Lincoln, Alabama. He will come across to the start-finish line, and he will celebrate and bring us our Martin Sports winning moment. Founded by Scott Martin nearly 10 years ago in the frozen region of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, Martin Sports strives for the best custom apparel for your needs. Whether you need shirts for your office, jerseys for a local sports team, or specially designed apparel for your sim racing group, Martin Sports has got you covered. Along with shirts and other team wear, they also offer gloves specially crafted for sim racing that are lightweight, breathable, and compete with padded leather palms. Use code PODIUM to receive 25% off any racing glove at martinsports906.com. Here's a look at the replay. Josh, how do you describe this? They were about 4 or 5 wide, I'd say, off of turn 4. Here's TJ Majors. He sits behind the main group. He goes all the way to the inside, almost about made a pass on Melillo, backed out for a second, swung right up in front of the 53, took Alfredo up to the outside wall, which then collects a bit of Raja Caruth. Another car goes straight for the safer barrier, but it's this 4 or 5 wide. They collect together, and Majors is the last one to outlive everybody else.
He was able to hold them all at bay as everybody else took each other out. Jason Kepfer also came across the line clean, but everybody else comes wrecking to the checkered flag. What a run from Majors coming down the back straightaway. He took it all the way downstairs and got by them going into turn number 3. Unbelievable finish for TJ Majors as he grabs this race win. Justin Melillo comes home in P number 2. What a race, Kenneth Bueno.
Unbelievable finish in the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race. It's TJ Majors with the checkered flag at the end of it all. Him and Justin Melillo survive to the start-finish line and to the checkered flag. Melillo comes home in second. A great result for the Traction.GG IR18. Jason Kepfer, after sort of bouncing around the front and the rear of the top 12, he somehow comes back as the leaders crash. He ends up capturing the final spot into the podium. Raja Caruth, who got shuffled out before the race ended, he came back up through the wrecks. He finishes P4. Michael Massey, despite going over the 23 of Alfredo in a recent caution, he ends up wrapping the top 5. Will Rogers, as aggressive as he was, it did not take him to victory lane. Unfortunately, got spun at the tri-oval. He comes home 6th. Anthony Alfredo suffers the same fate in P7. Nick Olsen out of the Road to Glory camp comes home in P8. So does Presley Sora. A great result and a great race overall by both of those drivers to set their respective field sort of respect amongst everybody else. Font in the 11 car, who barely got in after the end of line penalty for Preston Pardis. He wraps up the top 10.
Ford Martin comes home P11. Joshua Slate, the last of the top 12 of drivers who went for that 10-lap shootout. Back from there, these are all drivers who were eliminated after the opening 65 laps. Seth Eggert finishes 13th. It'll be P14 for the number 93. And going back from there, Preston Pardis will finish P15 with Brian Cook finishing P16. Drew Welker, P17. It'll be Brad Perez, P18. Adam Cabot and Luke Knupp going to round out the top 20.
Then, well, even more of the rest. David Shieldhouse, 21st. Gary Sexton, Ron Capps, our in-race reporter, going to finish in P23. William Hale finishes in 24th. And James Bickford, Brandon Brown, Max Kennan, Cole Irvin, Brent Baldick, Matt Rebellis, Case Collenbach, Devin Henry, rounding out your field of 32 from the All-Star race here at Talladega.
32 drivers entered, only 12 were left after lap 65, and only 1 remains in victory lane, and it is East Bethany, New York's TJ Majors, who comes home for the checkered flag. TJ, is there a way you can describe the final lap of that race? I know you were bouncing around through the field. You almost made it 4 wide for the lead. Give us your experience in that final lap of this Rowdy Energy All-Star race.
Well, I didn't expect to win that. Probably Will kind of had that race won. He got turned coming to the line. So I don't, I was just kind of trying to make something happen down the backstretch, and got swallowed up out of 4. But like I said, Will probably had that one. But yeah, you race to the line, so you never know what's going to happen, especially at a place like Talladega and in an Indy car nonetheless.
And of course, it seems as though the tensions rose after lap 65. After you got in, you were around the field after starting 14th. I mean, you were right around that bubble when the green flag dropped overall. And then you came into lap 65 with a head of steam in the top 12. So how was that more dynamically comparative to having the entire field with you? Because it must have been very different when you have 32 cars versus only 11 other drivers to work with after lap 65 and that caution.
Yeah, leading up to it, you're just trying to pit every time you can, take less fuel if you had a green flag stop. So you're just trying to take fill up every time, so you just have a shorter stop and maybe get a little bit better track, but especially under green. So that worked out in my favor and put me up in the top probably 4 or 5 there, and was racing with Anthony in that for that lap 64 dealer for that last yellow. But you're just trying to position yourself for the best run to the end there, and then obviously at the 12 to go or whatever, lap 64, you don't know what's going to happen from there.
And I know with your work as a NASCAR Cup Series spotter, it must feel very different to be on the driver's side of it. And I know you've had experience covering races at Talladega before, but not with these cars. In real life, the combo doesn't happen at all just because of the insane speed. So from a driver's perspective, how sort of crazy was it behind the wheel of your IR-18, having to constantly dodge and having to constantly adapt at a higher reaction speed, many would argue, than, let's say, the NASCAR trucks, the Xfinity cars, or the Cup cars together?
I mean, yeah, it's Indy cars at Talladega. Cup cars and everything is fast enough there. Indy car there, with this group, it's going to be pretty wild. So I think that's a good combo for an all-star race, and it's pretty fun to do. Those guys were 3-4 wide, sometimes even more than that. Got to thank Raj a little bit, though, for that, teaching me how to do that move off of turn 2 down into turn 3. I saw him do it and get all the way to the lead. So that's kind of what I was aiming for, because nobody's going to be content riding 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So they're all going to be trying to take their runs and do something. So I figured if I laid back and got a big enough one, I could maybe make some type of the same move. So it was exciting, good time. And yeah, it was a good time.
You get to get out of this one $175 richer, so I guess that also helps in the incentive as well, and maybe some of the momentum going into what's going to be next week's Talladega race, except with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series machines. But nonetheless, TJ, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and a big congratulations on winning the Rowdy Energy All-Star race. We'll let you celebrate here with this victory, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the M&R season.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think I'm going to go to Disney, man. I'm going to take my stepson Will to Disney and maybe ride It's a Small World or something. So should be a good time. Thanks.
That's TJ Majors with the victory overall here from Talladega. The driver, though, who was close to victory by Justin O's ends up P2. It is Justin Melillo, and he's caught up with our very own Josh Lee.
So close to the win. And another one of those classic Talladega photo finishes. Justin, how do you describe this race as a whole? Because it seemed like you were always up front, always in the conversation for that win. And at the end, only a couple inches took you away from it.
Yeah, I've been practicing for a good portion of the day, Joshua, and it was pretty much, I felt like I played that race right into my hands. I was exactly where I wanted to be at every point of this race, even on the final lap going into turn one. But I made the move, and I didn't think anybody was crazy enough to make the move behind me, and that was all it took. Even though coming to the line, the two of the red cars had gotten in front of us. But second isn't bad, but it doesn't pay out. And that's the story of my life here at Monday Night Racing. So, yeah, second place, that's what it'd be.
Going through the motions of that final lap, obviously you had yourself in the lead, and then you can take a look in your mirror and see TJ Majors coming up your inside. Were there any thoughts there other than just try and protect that inside line and try and protect that win?
Oh, I thought I was going to die there. I thought I was just going to get like left reared and I did end up getting pushed up into Anthony. I feel terrible for Anthony there. He was in it to win it too, and he ended up getting up into the wall there. But glad that I survived to the end. Never had to use a fast repair tonight. Never got involved in any incidents. So, like I said, I played this race perfectly, and just one spot short. So we'll have to try again next time.
We're going to take this energy, the second place finish, into the remainder of the MNR calendar in the playoffs, because second place, it's a good momentum booster when it's points attached. I would assume it's a good momentum booster when there's no points attached as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not in the playoffs, and I'm just trying to get to 11th place at this point. I'm just looking for good finishes and maybe a couple wins, maybe a win. I would just like one win, honestly, in this series. I've been so close so many times. So we'll get this. What was it tonight? Orange citrus was the flavor, because that's what won the fan vote. So we downed orange citrus Rowdy energy, and that definitely helped me focus and keep control of the car all night long, for sure. So
I can only imagine the celebrations if you do end up getting that Monday Night Racing win in the remainder of the season. But thank you, Justin, for your time here on Podium Esports. Congratulations again on your second place finish here in the Rowdy Energy All-Star Race.
Thank you, Joshua.
Great to hear from Justin, of course, Kenneth. Always a pleasure to have him on Podium Esports. And what a finish there, just inches away from a race win.
And Melillo ought to feel good about the second place finish. And given the fact that he performed well here, may keep up the momentum for next week when we take the trucks here, and he'll take his Traction.GG Ford F-150 maybe to victory lane. We'll have to see in order to get his very first M&R victory. We'll kick it back to P3, and Jacob Hitz here caught up with the 33 of Jason Keffer, who rounds out the podium tonight.
Jason, you had some contact throughout the night. You were able to get yourself back up into the top 12 when it mattered, and then get yourself back up into the picture when it mattered there at the very end. Take us through that last lap, because there was carnage just about everywhere.
Yeah, the last lap was crazy. I figured it would be, and I tried to practice getting some runs the few laps before that to see how it would go. And then that last lap, I tried to lay back, and then get the run. And I figured if I laid back, I'd either get the run and get around, or if they crashed, it'd be easier to avoid. So I guess the latter part happened there. So we were able to avoid most of it. And then we got a little contact coming through the tri-oval that slowed us down. Maybe we could have got the win, but I'm happy with the P3 for sure.
So you get to come back to this racetrack next week and go 60 mile an hour slower in the trucks here. 4 points, not just money on the line, points on the line next week. Did you learn anything with this racetrack, with the Indy cars, even though you're going to be in something completely different, more or less a brick next week instead of a rocket ship?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you can. It's so different. These cars get such a huge suck up, and then you can get a huge run around. But then once you get past a little bit, you lose it all. Where in the trucks and the Xfinity cars and Cup cars, you can actually do some tandem drafting and things. You can't do any of that in these cars. So I don't know. I would say probably not. These things are their own beast to drive.
Well, nonetheless, congratulations on the P3, and we will see you next week right back at Talladega.
All right, thank you.
Jason Keffer coming home P3 tonight from Talladega. Kenneth?
So it was wild from start to finish. Lap 1, lap 65, lap 81, and we had a sort of scintillating finish to this race where drivers are wrecking across the line, but that is sort of the staple of Talladega racing. That's how the thing goes, and TJ Majors walks away with his very first win, and in the All-Star race that with $175 on the line, that does have to feel good. But Josh, I mean, Jacob pointed it out, and there is sort of that aura over the air that this is Talladega. This is going to be the same track that we'll race at next week. Yes, different cars, 100%. Way different in terms of the machines you're going to be driving, yes, but the track is going to be the same. The nature of super speedway racing is also still going to be there. So for the playoff drivers, and even for the sort of regular season spoilers who are not running for the championship this year, they're going to be in contention and maybe take some notes from this crazy win at Talladega and maybe put it on to next week and take a checkered flag there as well.
And of course, the only two real main comparisons you can draw in between this race and the next race that we are going to see is that we're at Talladega and they can go flat out to the floor and just turn the wheel left. Obviously, it is much more complicated than that, but you get what I'm saying. You can only draw a couple of comparisons between these two. We're going to be dropping about 50 miles an hour. You can actually use the bumper in the trucks. You can push other drivers to the front. You can kind of manipulate lines a little bit more difficulty because you're not going to have those major runs that these drivers were getting in these Indy cars. So yes, you can take a little bit of what happened tonight and move it forward into the next race, but ultimately the drivers who are strong when it comes to trucks at Talladega are still going to be strong, and especially if they're in the playoffs, it is going to be their ticket to try and get into the next round.
So the note takers are the winners here. TJ Majors is the winner here, but I think the biggest winner Jacob hits is the fans. They voted for this combo. They put in the effort to get Orange Citrus and this combo of Indy cars at Talladega up to the front and to the All-Star race win. And I think it definitely lived up to the hype, wouldn't you say?
They got what they voted for. There's no doubt about it. And it produced a wild finish. It produced a lot of wild moments. Yeah, we tore a lot of equipment up, but I think we kind of expected that no matter where we were going to go, no matter what would win. I think we all imagined that a good amount of cars were going to be tore up and be scrap metal by the end of the night. So overall, I think things went well. Only a couple of cars got airborne, which is good because, like we talked about in the pre-race, these things are rockets with wheels. So we got airborne there in that last wreck, but other than that, I think we pretty much kept them on the ground. But a great finish for TJ Majors, a great win for him, and I can't wait to come back next week and do it all over again in a completely different environment.
And it comes to mind, I think the apron was the ultimate common denominator between last season's All-Star race with the Radicals of Texas, where everybody was on the apron to the inside wall in 3 and 4, and then TJ Majors using the apron going into 3 and 4 at Talladega in order to come across to the line and win the Rowdy Energy All-Star race. Just a great event, and nonetheless going to be looking forward to next season's action, and we'll see what combo ends up there. It's going to be the same. We'll have to see whether it's going to be completely different. We'll find out. But nonetheless, this was worth the hype. It was worth all of the fanfare from the votes of Orange Citrus. Next week, it will be the same song, but different verse. We'll have the trucks at Talladega, but that will be the first race of the MNR Season 4 playoffs. So instead of $175, it's going to be an entrance into the championship rounds, and of course, working all the way to the finale race of Auto Club with the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. But we've got more tales from Talladega, and it'll happen this Sunday night. The Simax Cup Series wraps up their round of 12 in their respective playoffs. They will head here to the Talladega Superspeedway with the NASCAR Cup Series machines. You'll find that coverage January 2nd, 9:15 p.m. Eastern on the Podium eSports main Twitch channel. That'll be our first sim racing action broadcast to kick off the new year in 2022. But that'll be before we go back racing, of course, here at MNR. Road to Glory broadcast will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern on the main Podium eSports Twitch channel. And then we'll have our coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Rowdy Energy from the Talladega Superspeedway with the trucks, 8 p.m. Eastern, Podium 2's Twitch, Podium's YouTube, Facebook pages, and the Monday Night Racing Twitter as well. We'll go Operation E-Motorsport Racing from Wine Country and Sonoma Raceway. We'll have that coverage January 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find all of that at iRacing.com/live. And then S-Rock returns with full force to the Sin City. S-Rock presented by Shenandoah Shine will hit Las Vegas with the old Gen 6 Cup cars. The coverage will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern, January 5th on the main Podium Esports Twitch channel. And then we will go short course racing. The iRacing Short Course National Series will hit Crandon. That'll be January 6th, 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Podium2. A drop of the green flag, a first lap pass, and a last lap pass for the race win gets TJ Majors his very first MNR victory and $175. So for Ford Martin and Paul Sutton at MNR, for Paul Sutton all the way in race control, for James Pike, Cisco Scaramuza, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore at Podium Esports, for our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Abenon on social media, for our crew on tonight's broadcast, our producer tonight Ryan Bauer, our peer reporter Taylor Burris, and my colleagues in the booth Joshua Lee and Jacob Pitts. My name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the Monday Night Racing Rowdy Energy All-Star Race in Season 4. Congratulations to TJ Majors, the winner of it all. We'll see you next week from the same track to kick off the MNR playoffs.
Another day, another broken plan. Feels like the world is slipping through my hands. I think I'm losing control. Can't seem to find my way home. I sat and watched my only map turn itself into stone. I'm hoping I can find a silver lining. Transmission, but you're not replying. We're losing signal over the horizon. Back screaming over radio silence. I think you're breaking up. 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 I wonder if you'll ever understand. I sacrifice you to avoid the end. I think that you'll never know just how low I would go to save myself from all the madness.